Got all them niggas dipping like lifting. Teabags, son, my stilo is G Kundo. The way of the intercepting fist. Intercepting every subliminal diss. Geographic prejudice against increments of incredulous legislature.
Well, to be honest, KRS One is my favorite rapper. So when I went up there with KRS One, he was he was flatlining niggas, and I was like, he ain't gonna flatline me. So yeah, I put that battery in my back because I was like, he ain't gonna flatline me, and it was a beautiful thing because that changed our relationship from that day on. I went in there with an attitude problem and gunned down, and he was like, oh. The goal is just to bar out and try to get your marketing up because look, here's the argument. You just know the best of what you heard. That don't mean you know the best.
Move with some caution. They don't want the wrath to Taj Austin. Sometimes trying to be this humble is exhausting. What's a threat to my intellect? That's insulting. I don't fear that. I'm immune to the coffin. Wouldn't even sneeze at it if it smells.
Man, so yeah, please tell a story about as far as your sons and them.
I had sex with their mom.
Oh man.
Oh my God.
But they grew up around it, and so their Uncle Exhibit, and like I said, Snoop Dogg, and all these people that my label mates, and so they've always they were born in and around the studio. Them niggas with me. If I whatever, I go to the barbershop, they get a haircut. I go buy some kicks, they get some kicks. I go to the studio, they got to kick it. And there's some amazing stories of them destroying studio equipment and me having to pay for it and being mad. And I didn't want no fucking rap kids anyway. This shit is painful. Everybody's not gonna be Lady Gaga and motherfucking Drake. It's just not enough space for that. There's a space for everybody to do okay, but there's a lot more space for people to get fucked over, which is their whole thing. They're contrary to any coast. I salute them young dudes because it's just like, no, bars matter.
Cause history's best qualified to teach one. Quoting German philosopher Schopenhauer, every white man is a faded or a bleached one. Migration created further mutation. Genetic drifts, evolution through recombination. Adaptation to the climate. As the Caucasus mountain man reverted to that of a primate. Savage Neanderthals until the late Paleolithic age. That's when the black Grimaldi man came. With the symbol of the dragon, fire and art. J.K. paintings in France and Spain to the Venus of Willendorf. Around 2000 BC, Southern Russians migrating small units. Those who travel west populated Europe.
I had a history class in 9th grade. The teacher asked me the class had to do a report on Christmas. We had Encyclopedia Britannicas at the house. I grabbed the Christmas one, and at the end it said, "See Pagan Holidays." Went to my mother and I said, hey, I go to her and I say, hey, why is this pagan on here for Christmas? Instead of shutting me down, my mother said, you got to read for yourself. And that changed everything. And that's the start.
Thank you for being here at Great Lyrics Only Podcast. You got your host, David Kidd. You got Melissa, the exclusive. Also, we have our sound engineer. You know what I'm saying? Mr. Good Time Graham is in the building.
Yeah.
I don't play it safe with my shit.
Shout out to everybody that's still spitting. Great lyricists, the Great Lyricist Only Podcast.
Only on the Great Lyricist Podcast.
That's right. You know what I'm saying?
It's a gift.
This is my favorite interview ever. I love y'all, man. Y'all are so fucking cool.
But saying a funny bar with a serious voice is just the funniest fucking thing.
Thank David for that.
Let's get this thing going.
Can you dig it?
That's how I roll.
You never know who's going to show up, but the job is for
Good
you
job.
to show up. They not beating us.
I just like anything that has to do with rap, you know what I mean?
Y'all make me really feel real.
My name is Melissa, the exclusive, aka Exclusive Rights. I'm too lit for this. It's always a pleasure when David does these interviews.
Y'all got Mary Poppins to give me that intro?
I like Flair too, baby.
Yeah, that's the homie. She's in the UK.
We've got it down to a final between us now.
Follow Mr. Razzcast, everything that he has going on social media. Go ahead and follow us on Spotify, Great Lyricist Only Podcast, and Apple Music, anywhere where you consume podcasts, any DSP. We appreciate you. We're almost ready. So y'all stay tuned.
Thank you for that. All right, so here we go. So again, we got Melissa. If you'd like to introduce yourself for everyone that's not here, go right ahead, Melissa. Go and start with you, and then Big Ock, go right ahead.
What's going on? My name is Melissa the Exclusive. I am your community, your clubhouse poet and spoken word artist. So I'm super excited to be in a space or in a place with somebody who writes and that is a lyricist. Shout out to all the poets I see at the bottom because we believe that music and poetry all go together. So I guess my first question kind of revolves around something that I heard you saying, which is that writing wasn't even like your first passion. I think you said it was like you did b-boy things, and then you were literally rewriting lyrics that you thought should go in place of some of the music and with the artists that you were listening to. And then that kind of transition. So at what point, I know there was a point where someone was saying, oh, you should just write your own. So at what point did that become more so of your passion over b-balling? And do you ever, or would you ever have considered yourself a poet?
I started school early and got skipped. So when I was like 13, I was acting front like I was 15. And I tried to do it once, and I thought I wrote the most incredible rap ever. And then I went back to Watts and said the rap to my friends, and it was horrible. So I gave up, and I mean, for me, I'm always about like knowing what I'm good at and knowing what I'm not good at. And so for me, I kind of gave up on it and was just really okay with being, a supporter, like a b-boy. I wasn't b-balling. I wasn't playing basketball. I was b-boying, like dance, breaking. And so then I was cool with that for like another year and a half, and it converted more into freestyling.
Mhm.
And I think Far Side can, because they're older friends of mine. They probably had me by like 2 or 3 years at the time. So those are kind of dog years when when you're 15. When you're 15, you don't want to kick it with the 12-year-old. But they were a little bit older than me, and we were all like b-boys and stuff. And that was it. Like we'd be like, oh, if he would have said that, that would have been ill, because then I could have did this backflip or whatever that move was. And I redid that. I kind of went back into it, and this time a few people recognized that. I had something with me, and they kind of helped foster that and grow it. So I would say, to answer your question and not make a long story short, probably around about 14 and a half is when I was given opportunity to kind of develop what I was thinking.
Understood. So do you or would you consider yourself a poet or just a lyricist? And do you still write that way?
No. Okay, so I'm a big fan of poets. I feel like I'm a writer, not necessarily rap. And I feel like poets have a much more complicated and iller craft. Personally, to be perfectly honest, I'm not like trying to make the room feel better. It's just what I think. I've tried to write poetry and I fumbled on the one constantly. I've tried to do it since. I'm not really a poet. I basically, my whole rap style eventually became writing in complete sentences. I'm just a writer, like topic, like heading, body, closing. So I would put semicolons and shit and semicolons and like I wrote grammatically correct and I delivered the way I wrote. And so that's a little bit different. So for me, I don't write the way I feel like, there's haikus. There's so many ways to write poetry, and then sometimes it doesn't like it's just a different craft. I feel like they're all even battle rap. I feel like we're all playing, a similar sport, but there's definitely a very specific skill set in being a poet to me.
That's what's up. I appreciate that answer. I can't wait to get into other things with you. I'm going to go ahead and pass the microphone back to David, but thank you.
Oh, thank you. What was your experience writing this rhyme, and who inspired you in this track right here? Please let me know.
Cryptic phrases, cranium conjuring quote. I rewrote the pages of murder he wrote to a note, brimstone and smoke. But spooky I'm not, I just spook them most spooky folks. So boo as I rise from the deaf, dumb, and dead. My double-edged dagger floats to fly a fucking head. A pagan type hype, I gotta write the frightened nice theme. Seems I'm deemed the fiend by pale things. Superstitious but not stupid to fear a nil black cat. I creep in your psyche like Freddy, and I'm quite apt to kill or be killed. But they live cause I never die. Multiply 7 times 7 and then 7 times. Smooth, so sinister, subliminal and cryptic. A crucifix and wooden stakes couldn't fix shit. So do yourself a favor and yo, don't sleep. The dark side youth came to trick a motherfucking tree.
That's what I'm talking about right there. I went way back in time.
I hate you for that. That is
So please let me know what are your thoughts on hearing that rhyme after this amount of time, right? Also, who inspired you to rhyme that?
Ice Cube in there. I hear a whole bunch of influence. That's hilarious. I hear lots of Ice Cube and Rakim, which are two of my favorite rappers.
That's dope.
Honestly, it's that song is called. It was a B-side to a vinyl, and the person that put us on, Battle Cat. So Battle Cat got our older homie Boxer record deal, and then me and we were like the underlings. My homie Bird, Cat produced the record, and it was like, we're gonna put this record out sometime around October. And he knew I rhymed. He was like, so here's your opportunity and rhyme. So I was like, damn, I gotta do a holiday special rap, but how do I fit that and be myself on this? Which kind of taught me how to write conceptually, and how I was like, well, shit, it's gonna be this holiday record on this vinyl, and how do I kind of be Razzcast on that? You know what I'm saying? And yeah, it's funny. I just hear I love
when you hear yourself, you're like, man, that's what I sounded like. So, as a matter of fact, how old were you when you made that? Do you remember how old you were when you made that?
I couldn't have been much more than 13 and a half. Like, that's Cat.
What?
Battle Cat discovered us, me and Bird. So, I was acting, but it's funny because I always say, like, I had a deeper voice when I was a kid. So I sound more mature back then.
Yes.
I was an angry kid. So no, it's funny. And so yeah, if you listen, I'm saying, triple stage darkness, which, Nation of Islam, 5% knowledge. It's still socio-political, and then trying to make that related to Halloween, dark and scary or whatever. So yeah, it was me trying to find that fine line of how to be lyrical for a holiday special. Yeah.
For a holiday special being lyrical. That's crazy, man. All right. So I'm going to read an article, right? This is from, funny enough, right? This is from December of, 1994. December 1994, the Source magazine, right? Uh-huh. So this is what they wrote. I'm only going to read the first paragraph. It says, just when you thought it was safe to write Southern California off as a wasteland of gin and juiced hustlers and pimps, steps up Razzcast to prove LA has an underground with a lyrical potency and overall fervor that may soon rival New York's. This 19-year-old from Carson is a part of a Western Hemisphere, a rhyme collective of like-minded MCs and producers out of more than gangs, guns, and definitely more than just Roger Troutman beats. It says bolstered by fat production from crew members Voodoo, Bird, Raz rips. Wait a minute, I gotta say that. So Raz rips shit in a manner that hasn't been witnessed out of those parts of the Freestyle Fellowship, which blew up a few years ago, right? So my question is this though, right? When you hear stuff like that, right? When they say we don't expect that to come from LA as far as the rhyme, right? So is that an insult or is that a compliment? But let me play a few seconds of it so people can understand what I'm talking about. So here it is.
Western Hemisphere stand clear eye, cause now the sun sets across 606 sextillion tons. Come direct, I project like a telepathic catch. 4 meters over sound waves. I come to offer positions like pornographics with questions. Animal, vegetable, or mineral, what am I? Atom, amphibian, invertebrate, a mammal, homo sapien. Specifically, I swell up like gout, then spread out like centrifugal force. Collision course reinforced with cylindrical wax. Axis spins at 33 RPM. That truly comprehend what that is. That is not added to.
What are your thoughts on that right there? Do you take that as a compliment or a diss, or was it what were your thoughts on that? And Dre, right after that, you go right after that, Mr. Dr. Dre.
I always felt like it was what we call a double-sided compliment. You know, my argument was always having to do these interviews, and they're like, "Oh, you're the alien," and I'm like, "Nah, not really. I may be one of the iller aliens out of those that exist, but we're not that alien. It's a lot of, you know." I felt like the media created this one-sided box for what West Coast rap sounded like, and we had a sound that was successful, and so nothing else got heard. Or and that's not just with radio, even within neighborhoods. You know, it's like, oh, he, you know, I remember they used to call like those terms like bumperhead. You know, backpacker would eventually become the term that got settled on across the country. Oh, you a backpacker? I'm a real street nigga, or you know, whatever. All these terms. And so you know, for me, I appreciated what they were trying to say, which was that, oh, you can go toe to toe with an East Coast or with a lyricist, which was considered more East Coast, and West Coast was considered, you know, G Funk. Um, and so it would be funny, you know, Kid Capri. I remember when Kid first brought me out around that same time. I got the sources dope as hip hop quotable, and that wasn't something that West Coast people got often. So I definitely, you know, back then the source was the Bible, and to be acknowledged meant a lot. But I would have to argue with people, you know, Kid Capri. I remember he's like, "You from the Bronx?" And I was like, "My nigga, I am from Watts and Carson, bro." You know what I'm saying? I'm like, "No, I'm a fan of hip hop, and this is my interpretation of it." And I just didn't feel that I wanted to, you know, that the brand of my hip hop was gonna lean heavily on, you know, the stereotype. I mean, you know, I'm from LA. We all grow up in a neighborhood. We're associated by birth. You know, that I always think about that Kendrick skit on Good Kid, Bad City, and I'm like, he nailed that skit. That skit is incredible. Like when the dude's like, "But where your mama from, nigga? Where your grandmama from? Like, you from somewhere around here? You are, no matter what." And so, just because we were that didn't mean we couldn't be ourselves. Because I grew up in Watts, and I wasn't forced to join the sets around there. You know what I'm saying? And so that was the narrative that other rappers sold to make a lot of money. Oh, it's so hard in the hood. You got to do it. No, you just a buster. That's a decision you make at 13 to 18, and you usually do it because you know, nobody forces you. You do it because you want to, because one, your parents ain't got no money, so now you can sell dope with the homies. You do it because somebody hurt somebody in your family and you want some get back. There's other factors why people join gangs. And so for me, I didn't have those issues. Although some of my friends joined, my narrative was different. And so I wanted to tell my, you know, my version. And I won't make this convoluted, but I would always give them this example. I would say, bro, go to any block anywhere, let alone a family. I was like, dude, it's gonna be a basketball dude. It's gonna be a comedian dude. It's gonna be like the fly dude, get the ladies dude. It's gonna be a terrorist. He's gonna be the nigga that start trouble and steal shit. It's gonna be a drug addict. It's gonna be a gay dude. Whatever. I was like, so why would you expect the whole California to be Crip walk into my 6'4" with a Jerry curl, do a drive by, and then Crip walk back you know, to beat up the Asian man at the liquor store? Like, it was like, you guys like forced us to live in this box, and you didn't recognize anything outside of that box. And then even Home started, you know, because it was winning, they've kind of always been closed mind to all the other versions of hip hop. Whereas I always said that the East Coast, at the same time that you could have Nas, you could have Wu-Tang Clan. Think about what, you know, and this is not a knock, but like, think about conceptually what Wu-Tang's saying. Wu-Tang is kind of like 5% knowledge, but the niggas is kung fu niggas. Like, that shit's ill. That's like multi-level, and one of those could have just not worked with people, but having concepts. And even at the same time, you could have Wu-Tang Clan, you could have Biggie, you know what I'm saying, who was kind of very West Coast at the time. And then you could still have De La Soul, and you could still have Biz Markie, just straight goofy, you know, fun, lighthearted. They have variety, and what we didn't have was the opportunity to show our variety.
Yeah, I noticed that too. Yeah. Yeah, I'm glad you spoke on that, man. But 1 second. So 1 second, Dr. Dre, are you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah. So Dr. Dre, Raz Cash, go ahead and do your thing, Dr. Dre. You know what I'm saying?
What's going on, Roz?
What's up, King?
You know, man, I'm listening to what you're saying and having
evolved through that time and been a part of it. The one thing I really like disappoints me about hip hop culture and the rap game, I want to separate it like that for a reason.
Yeah.
Coming up in New York, we were more separate than the way y'all felt about the way New York felt about you. It really wasn't that bad like that. And I got to take it from being a host of Yo MTV Raps and us being able to see videos from everywhere and saying, yo, just play the video, play the video, play the video, and all that underlining stuff from Brooklyn. Like, it's funny, like, Brooklyn will be like, oh, Brooklyn this way, Brooklyn that way. Then they'll subdivide Brooklyn into 10 different parts like it's not Brooklyn. And you're like, are y'all kidding? And then when you go to the Bronx, oh, it's only the Bronx. Then they separate themselves into 25 different parts. Then you get Queens, so it's Hollis, it's Springfield, it's you're like, wait a minute. I thought we were all just with New York. No. And the thing is, what always used to always inspire me is listening to guys from different parts of the country. I won't just say, oh, just in the West Coast. I'm talking about everywhere, up and down. Because the first time I went out there, I was with Sway and Tech up in Uptown. And I'm listening to those other groups going, yo, this is hot. Why can't we play this? Then bring it back to New York and then, oh, no, that's not us. But me, I grew up in Newcastle, Westbury, on Long Island. Do you know what it was like for us to try to break through?
Right.
I mean, it's no secret. Chuck D and I went to college together. Do you know what it was like for me to get them signed to Def Jam and getting people in New York to go, oh, that's okay? Because even late great Mr. Magic and his crew dissed the first Public Enemy album. So Chuck got mad, ran in the studio, and said, I got to put out Rebel with a Cause. Without a pause. And then everybody went, oops, wait a minute, I think we made a mistake. And I always kept trying to explain that to West Coast cats. Just put your stuff out and let it be what it is.
Right.
Stop, subdividing your subdivision. And then I was the first person to say, look, with the Source magazine, Vibe magazine, I don't care what magazine or show, stop saying East Coast rap, West Coast rap, Dirty South. Nah, man, just put it out there. You never saw on a Yo MTV Rap show when your name came up, what coast, what city you were from. We just played the video.
Because it was dope, right?
Yeah. Period. Because that's how you give artists opportunity to become themselves.
Yeah.
And I always found that, even when I listen to stuff today, and I'm listening to guys that are going super hard, yo, south side of Chicago from the west side of the east side of Chicago, down in the basement on the 30. What? I'm supposed to remember all of that?
Right.
And you come on, man. Just put the lyrics on the beat, put the
and let it do what it do
on the video, and let's see what it do.
Right. Well,
have pride in where you come from.
Honestly, I agree with you, but I will tell you, over the 1996, 8, 7, it was. Where's the Jerry curl? And we want the box because somebody was just telling me that on some marketing yesterday about. He was like, dude, and he gave this analogy about going to the grocery store and if the aisle was just filled with random stuff all over the place. He's like, how do you find the milk? And I was like, I get that, but this is music and creativity, and what if I don't want to check that box? So what am I? Am I lo-fi? Am I lyrical rap? Am I old rap? What how come I can't just make really good music that's simply, and I always felt like hip hop was the amalgamation of all music forms. You could sample the jazz drums, the reggae bass line, the everything. But these people did box it. And we accepted those boxes. We took rap.
I was the fighter against all those boxes. Being the universal creator of the 808 bass sound, I created that sound. I made it popular, and then to this day, it still exists. I'll take that credit, but I didn't care who got on it. That was the beautiful thing.
Right.
You bring your version of it to the thing. Because I go back, and I'm gonna show my age here. How do we sit there and judge the Jackson 5 Were the Jackson 5 from Gary, Indiana, as they professed on a song? Or were they from LA when they moved to California? So we don't like the Jackson 5 when they went to California because they lived in California, or we only like the Jackson 5 that was with
From
Motown in
Gary,
Detroit. It didn't make sense. And that's what I kept trying to tell people, especially with rap music and hip hop culture. Stop boxing it. That was the whole purpose of it from the beginning, not to be put in a box. So that when you drop Planet Rock, as the Soul Sonic Force Africa Bambaataa did, you got to it because that was hot. That was that. When you got Sugar Hill Gang and they dropped, the Sugar Hill Gang Rappers Delight, you got it because that's what it was. So when you got NWA and they dropped Gangsta Gangsta, you got it because that's what it was. When Original Concept drops Knowledge Be with yo, cuz, I went down to the Hempstead Terminal, man. Word, cousin, man. And we find out in LA, we're out of control. Because it was the music. That's all that should have been involved. Once that subdivision stuff started happening, and that's why you always have huge discussions with the Source and people from Vibe and all these other different publications. You're hurting the culture. You're hurting the musicians. And I just gotta say respect to you, because you guys said, I'm gonna just do what I do and let me do it.
Amen to that.
And that to me what Biggie was trying to do till his demise. He was like, I'm from Brooklyn, but I try to make records for everybody.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And I mean, a lot of artists were doing that. And that's why I don't understand, and I'll stop preaching after this. And I have respect and disrespect for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, because I don't understand why MC Hammer is not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I don't care what anybody says. Hammer was what people do today before the end of his time. He drove that train. I'm sorry, it's just a fact. And I mean, I can go down a list of many artists where I sit back and I watch every year. Oh, they're bringing this person in. Why is this person taking so long? Why is this person taking so long? And that's why I love doing these programs. I love hearing from you as artists, you as creators, and say, look, man, just do what you do. Please. Because I think the one thing that really destroyed the music industry as a whole was the digital medium. And then what helped the industry as a whole was the digital medium. Because when the digital medium came along, it really separated everybody. And then people came out and, I can't play this record from so-and-so, and I can't do that. No, Tag Team should be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame for Whoop, there it is. But people forget 95 South did the same song. I mean, keep it real. And that's what I'm going way back to go forward now so that we can respect what people do today, as well as what the creators of those eras made us and who we were.
Well, let me ask you one question.
Go for it.
Because I mean, to a certain degree, to my understanding, even punk rock kind of evolved at the same time with hip hop, and so all those genres are it was kind of out of the disco era and a little bit more rebellious, and so even real house music came from give it credit where it's due, is Chicago, and so but I guess before I pose the question, I would interject and just say, one of my biggest perceptions and my biggest problems with our industry is we never controlled any of them. We didn't control jazz, we didn't control R&B, and then we get boxed, which is why they could tell people down that Beyonce ain't country. We invented the banjo as an African instrument, but we don't control nothing. So at the end of the day, I do understand what you're saying about. I didn't know you invented, as the 808 as far as playing as a bass line, which is
Can
fucking
you feel
incredible.
it? Pump that bass. Acknowledge me. I can go down the list.
Thank you. Salute and thank you. But then,
my group Original Concept, we wrote "Proud to Be Black" for Run DMC on the Raising Hell album.
Oh yeah, no, salute, 1,000 salutes, because like I said, that's a game changer. But we didn't control our destiny. I always still say to this day, I know I've been in SAG-AFTRA. Like, actors have a guild, musicians have a guild. His fingers have a guild. Guess who don't have no nothing?
Because rap comes out of everywhere. There were no rules. And the one thing we kept trying to do is go to the place where the rules were keeping us separate. Now I'll break down what you were saying about punk rock. Punk rock came a little bit before rap music, and I'm using rap music instead of hip hop, was solidifying itself. House music was really an extension of what disco was. So when all those folks got pissed off and started saying, let's burn the BG records and destroy them in the middle of the street, they changed the name. It was all dance music.
Right.
It really was. It was just all dance music. Chicago had a swing to it, and they did the bus stop the way we did the bus stop. So when you saw popping and locking on the West Coast, what were they popping and locking to? Dance music. That's the truth. And I just saw this special, and it's kind of funny about The Last Dragon with Timac and Vanity. And when you look back on that movie, look at all the influences that came from that movie. And it was really one of the biggest stars in the movie, who wasn't the star of the movie, but the gentleman who played Shogun. He had copped all the lines from the street and put it in the movie. And we all understood it. That's why it was an underground classic. So the thing is, one thing with rap music, it was never supposed to last as long as it has. Because no one thought no one was going to buy this all the way through. But the first actual rap record was by the Fatback Band on Spring Records called King Tim III. That's the truth. And it was a huge hit record.
What year is this?
1970. I'm gonna profess 77. It was out a year before Rapper's Delight. There was other little side records that were out, but it wasn't as concentrated as the Fatback Band because it was on Spring Records. And that's the same. His son ended up running the record label that had Wu-Tang on it. I keep forgetting the name of that right now. But the point is, rap records were coming out, but it was evolving as quickly as punk rock. It was anti-rock and roll. It was like, we don't want to keep saying this same old crap. We want to do this. So you had incredible groups that came out of that. So when Blondie drops Rapture, people go, well, that's not really a rap record. That's a this, that's a that. And she rhymes and says, Fab Five Freddy sold everybody's live. DJ spinning, getting live. Flash is fast, Flash is cool. What do we consider that? See, because we got caught in their game of you must define where, who, and what it really is. And that's not how rap music and hip hop started. It really didn't. It was amalgamations of a lot of things. So when you listen to Planet Rock, you know that's Kraftwerk called Trans Europe Express. So what? That's not a rap record? Because I've been told that's not a hip hop record. That's what do they call it? They call it not the digital, the electronic music. That's bullshit. That's straight bullshit. That was the biggest, hugest rap record when it dropped. And when it went, just hit me, boom, boom. Come on, man. That was huge. Play that beat. Won't you play it for me, Mr. DJ?
Right.
All that was the evolution of rap music beginning on Tommy Boy Records. And there was other ones too. Like, how can Salt and Pepper not be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and Missy Elliott be in? Doesn't make sense to me. And every football game, every basketball game, they're playing, push it. Oh, that wasn't rap music? How didn't UTFO make the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame with Roxanne? Impossible. These were international, huge songs. But they didn't know how to define it. And we didn't have publicists being able to actually explain where these groups came from. Full Force, who did Lisa and the Coach Jam. I Wonder If I Take You Home, what do you call that? That's a hip-hop record.
Well, they call that freestyle now, just so you know.
No, it was always freestyle. But the thing is, when you don't want to embrace what it really is, you come up with excuses. And that's the one thing that I got in trouble for, and I still get in trouble for. It doesn't make sense to me. For example, like Yo MTV Raps, when Fab, Five Freddy, and I and Ed and T Money, we did that show. It wasn't big in New York because New York didn't have cable. It just didn't. It's not like, oh, well, Dre No No was huge. No. Music Box, Video Music Box, with Ralph McDaniels and them were on a local side station where you used to have to get the antenna out and, square it around, and hopefully you get a clear picture, but you hear the music. But Yo became huge all over the country because cable was huge. That's why we were so big in LA, Florida, Atlanta. I mean, you name it. So when BET came out, BET never wanted to play rap music in the beginning. We were 4 years ahead of them. So I'm like, everybody keeps trying to box things in. So it gave us the opportunity to play you, to play Kid and Play, to play Dre, Cube, and NWA, to play Eazy. We had an opportunity because we were different in that respect. So we broke those songs, those videos, and now today, when I hear the revisionist history from people, oh yeah, we was doing that. Oh yeah, no you weren't. I bought Straight Outta Compton from LA to New York because the first NWA record I had was NWA and Posse. Because I was in LA and I picked it up.
Right.
And I knew Greg Mack. And I knew all these folks because we went out there as original concept and we met other people who were like, damn, okay. We broke Young MC. I can't understand why, especially in the hip hop game, people reject Young MC. But yet he's got a TV commercial on every other hour using Bust a Move.
Right.
I mean, this is, so what? Oh, he doesn't count? Tone Loc doesn't count?
Of course they do.
Exactly. And that's my problem right now. So I'm saying, who's making these choices?
Well, I think that goes back to we don't own anything, and so somebody else is making those choices.
But we have to stand up and fight these people. I know who's making the choices. Believe me when I say, I know somebody who's taking a lot of credit for a lot of stuff, and I got a middle finger for him. Yeah, a straight middle finger. Because if it wasn't for Yo MTV Raps, your group wouldn't exist like it did. We played you. You weren't on the radio.
Yeah, I think fundamentally, I feel like we should have unioned up. That's the reason why now you have, people trying to put things together to take care of older artists that, kind of the Jay-Z quotas for what they did to the Cold Crush or whatever. Like this, it's been every man for himself from the beginning. And that's why those people were able to purchase, records from singers and writers and give them to Elvis and nobody had no publishing. Like I know people who are, the sons and the children of some of those people that stole from rock and roll, and they are very rich out here in Beverly Hills. And that's the same thing happening right now in rap.
Look, I'm still looking for my check for Proud to Be Black. I write the song Proud to Be Black with my group, and we still never got paid.
I mean, I
got excuses.
I helped write for Coolio, and I'm still fighting Tommy Boy for like, where's my money?
Exactly. It's like, and the thing is, they give you every excuse in the book, except here's your check.
Yes.
And that, again, when you want to say unionize, there are things I'm doing behind the scenes right now, which deal in hip hop health, hip hop insurance. I mean, you want to name it. I went the long route because I wanted to make sure once we institute this, everybody can get on, and you can be able to be taken care of the way you need. Because I'm a blind amputee and a type 2 diabetic, and I am super bad because I don't let anything get me down.
That's right.
I just want to keep it really 100 to everybody. And for folks like you, that's the issue because it's hard to unionize when every time somebody comes out, like you said, you started at 13. If I'd have walked up to you at 14 and said, hey man, you need to join the union. Yo, you need to get out my face. Because that's the kind of stuff they were doing to me back in our day. Because it was like, oh, we can't do this music thing because they're going to come and try to take our money. But if you want to get paid the long way, like with the SAG-AFTRAs, and you want to follow up, you have to give a little to get a little back.
Right.
It's a process. We don't teach each other what needs to be done. Instead, we got story after story. This one stole, this one never paid us, this one never did this. And that's one reason why I'm going to do what I have to do. And my story's been told on multiple different social media interview platforms. But now I got to concentrate it, galvanize it so I can say, you know what? I'm here to help and need people like yourself and David and company and all these wonderful folks on this platform to get behind what's being put together so that everybody can get theirs. Because believe me, Adam Sandler gets all of his. Believe me when I say George Clooney, he gets all of his.
Yeah,
Matt Damon, Ben Affleck, they get all of theirs. And I was blessed enough to talk to so many other very, very wealthy artists I thought they were, and people who are out there globally like that we've never seen before. And when I sit back on a closed door and they start breaking down and crying, saying, "Can you help me? I mean, could you just let everybody know that this is this way and this is that?" That's what I said. You're right. We got to remove the boxes and start going back. Because people think you can't sue for a certain period of time. Oh, yes, you can. This is the United States of America. And if they can elect a 34 count indicted guilty convict to the president of the United States, you can get yours too. I'm just keeping it 100.
Yeah, you're keeping it 1,000 right now, sir. All right, but real quick, we're gonna do a quick reset, right? But right before I do that, right, Miss Don't Play.
Thank you, David. I just wanted to say, if you guys did not know who you were just speaking to or who you were just listening to, we have two legends in the house tonight. We have Dr. Dre from Yo MTV Raps. Make sure you go ahead and follow him on all social medias. Ms. Bernadette has dropped it in the chat for us. And we're interviewing the West Coast legend, Mr. Razcast, tonight. You guys have brought up like amazing points, speaking on the who belongs. You guys were speaking on like who's been inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And absolutely, there should be more women. Yeah, why isn't Salt and Pepper there? And we just got Missy last year as the first woman and the only artist from the South, actually. So unfortunately, hip hop is a genre that is divided regionally and things of that nature. So my question to you, Mr. Razcast, is because it's literally every interview I've ever looked at with you, it always ends up bringing up Eminem. So how important is it to you, or how proud do you feel to be able to sit back, and especially in lieu of like Kendrick dropping that amazing album yesterday? If you guys haven't heard it, you need to go cop it, the GNX
Generation
album.
X, I think. Gen X.
Yes, go cop that album. Like, how important is it to you to sit back as a proud father to know that you inspire Eminem? I've heard you say in many interviews that Royce and Eminem would go and listen to your first album and that they practice rapping as you, like you, for a whole year. Like, how important is it to know that you inspire Eminem, who in turn turned around and inspired Kendrick, who is basically the face of the West right now, the king of the West Coast? Like, does that make you feel proud?
Well, I wouldn't say. Well, okay. Everybody's influenced by somebody or multiple people, and I did want to put that caveat out there. Like, as you heard my song, you heard Trick or Treat record was like Ice Cube mixed with Rakim. Royce that's Royce's quote, and I know those brothers. They bought Solo Nice and rapped. That's his quote, that we rapped like Razcast for a year. Him and him. I wouldn't say I sunned. I always had peers. But I was lucky enough to know Tongue Twister and Common Sense, and they were from a different. They were like the generation before me who got record deals that I bought their vinyls or their cassettes or their, I don't even think CDs were out. So that I, as a fan, that I was a Big L, Biggie Pac, whatever, to be able to associate and eat pun and meet these people as a peer, albeit a younger peer, a novice, a freshman, and into the, into the art or the guild of MCing. I just beat I was older than him. I mean, I'm not. I'm sorry. He's actually older than me. I just had an opportunity before him. I feel like his success. This is a one man sport. So I always say, man, everybody's got to go do, this is mano a mano. Nobody's coming in, this ain't wrestling. This is not, or at least, WWE or whatever. Like we go in mano a mano, one man come out. And so of course you got to study the other ill people to perfect your craft. I feel like he's studied some things of mine, but there's, took some bars. People take, bro, some of your favorites. I took some bars, concepts, whatever. Um, I'm really still under I'm on the guru thing, which is give credit where it's due. So I don't always feel credited for like if you took a bar, if you took a slang that you actually heard me say, and so for me, I guess how I'm trying to answer that, I haven't really. I guess I would say I don't feel credited. And so I still got to go get mine because I haven't heard him get up there and then mention and say, hey, I really did, Raz was a good brother to me and possibly I got some bars or whatever. I don't feel credited. I don't feel credited by most of these MCs. I feel credited by Royce. That's why I quoted him. That's not something I just objectively said, because I wanted somebody to give me some shine. It's because it's the truth, and he acknowledged the truth. But when the other persons don't, then I'm on some guru shit. Like, you got to give credit where it's due, or I'm gonna have to take my credit. So everybody else, I mean, to be perfectly honest, I see everybody else as competition, and we not really playing for the same team with no animosity behind that. That's just what they eat don't make me shit. And if you're not even crediting me for my contribution, that's how niggas get swept under the rug. And I'm not, I've already watched that on the West where people say, oh, well, exhibit in the game and so on. So I'm like, so I'm chopped liver. I didn't do nothing here. I didn't write, you know what I mean? So in that sport, I still got to go get my rings. And so until the casket drop, that's my job, which, it's not a bitter thing. It's just reality. I watch people. My kids are Coach Contra. Two of them are my twins, being Teacher Moses' kids, and watching that same thing happen is like, you got to go out here, and go get your ring. And sometimes people who you are right next to that you helped immensely may be so much in their glory that they're not really interested in giving you your little bit of glory. But I do, and I'll shut up after this. But I forgot who I said this to. But do you know how much of a game changer it was when Jay-Z said lyrically, I'd probably be Talib Kweli? That his numbers went up. I was in New York and I watched records change. I remember when Dr. Dre said, they asked him, it was some game thing, and he was on the radio, and he said, right now I'm listening to Kendrick Lamar. The radio played the nigga the next day. You know what I'm saying? Because some people are influential and more influential than others. So yeah, of course, if Brody said my name or any of these other people, then yes, of course, that would bring the awareness to the novice or just a casual fan to say, well, damn, if I love him and he's saying dude is dope, then that would give me the opportunity and that. But nobody's obligated to do that. But that's the game. You understand what I'm saying? That is the game. The game is we're all fighting for your awareness. And I might make a better burger than Ronald McDonald, but Ronald McDonald got big marketing. I hope I answered it.
No, absolutely, absolutely. And just one more question about staying on the West Coast here. So last night I had the pleasure of reviewing Kendrick's album, GNX, with my friend Vel, who's down there in the chat, and you guys can go see that on his podcast as well. So who would you say is keeping the West Coast sound alive? Like, who is the next people that are up? Is it your children that you have, your twins? Or who would you say is the next set of people or artists that are keeping that West Coast sound alive and authentic?
I never do that because I only know who I know of. And so that's unfair for me to, start picking horses in a race that I'm also in the race in. I'm biased. But my argument with you is what happens if I go become the most popular nigga tomorrow for some fuck shit, and everybody's all eyes on me, then it's me. You understand what I'm saying? Like, and that's the goal. I think my sons are doing what they're supposed to be doing. I think Kendrick's doing what he's supposed to be doing. I think there's 100 other MCs. Planet Asia is so criminally underrated as an MC. There are so many incredible MCs. Hyro ain't dead. You know what I'm saying? Cash is doing from the Alcoholics is doing some of the best verses he's ever done, in my opinion, right now. He's just caught a second win, let alone some new kid that I don't know of, or some new, you know what I'm saying, or some of these female MCs out in Leimert Park or wherever they at that's gunning. So who am I to start picking winners? The goal is just to bar out and try to get your marketing up, because look, here's the argument. You just know the best of what you heard. That don't mean you know the best.
Absolutely. And thank you
I mean,
so much for
and
answering.
here, and this may come out and sound like shade, but it's not. My homie called me yesterday around the same time. I was on the phone with somebody else talking. I think I was talking about Saphir. I was probably talking to homies about Saphir, and my friend called and said, "Yo, I just got Curtis Daniel. He's from Carson, owns the biggest studio in Atlanta, Patchwork Studios. Kurt texted me and said, yo, Kendrick got a song that's just like Interview with the Vampire. He's like, it's Pac's beat and your concept." And I was like, well, whatever. And then called him back. I still haven't heard the song. I bought the album because I always support people who I fuck with, but I haven't heard it yet. So he's saying that the song is called the Reincarnation song. I haven't heard it because I'm not going to go skip and listen to that song. I want to hear the album and appreciate it. But yeah, a lot of times we influence people. And he said one of his ideas was you should do Say My Name, and be honest about the people that stole bars, because there are some of your favorite rappers that have literally heard me say something and then go put it in a rap. He's like, yeah, you should do that. And I was like, but then I might come off as the bad guy. People is in their groupie stage or their fan stage, whatever you want to call that, or the fanatic stage. And I make seem like the bad guy for saying bro did that because he gonna act like he didn't. Because he already been doing it for 10, 5, 7, 8, whatever. This is a different sport, bro. Like, because it's almost like once the dude, it's like heckling the comedian. He's got the mic and the speakers, and they came to see him.
Melissa, I think she had a follow-up for that, right, Melissa?
My follow-up was literally about that song because it was a song that I had listened to recently, Interview with the Vampire. And I wanted to ask about that song because it went along with something I heard you say, which was that you try to present the most humanistic form of an individual. You're trying to present yourself as something human or someone human. You're trying to present yourself or that is what your connection is. And so the reason why that one in particular sticks out to me is because, like I said, I write, and there's a poem that I actually have that goes along kind of in that, your battle or your conversation with God. So I actually wanted to catch the backstory on where that Interview with the Vampire came from.
Okay. So this is the honest truth. My first album came out. It didn't sell, it didn't perform like Wu-Tang Clan or whoever. It didn't blow up. It didn't sell like Ice Cube. And I had to start doing interviews, and they would say, do you feel bad about your first album, Soul on Ice, because it didn't sell, but people say it's incredible? And I said, well, same conversations we're having now about marketing and what's good as opposed to aesthetically, as opposed to when the powers that be push the button on the whack music and make that more popular than the quality music, whatever. And I said, and so my answer eventually evolved into, well, I can't, how can I hate myself? I made it. We did the best we could under our circumstances. And I don't know what could have gave me a better chance of success. Maybe if I had Jesus on it, would you have bought it? Everybody wants to hear that song. And so it started from a response to why I didn't sell, why I'm not successful, quote, unquote, in the mainstream to niggas in the street and to the white man, why I'm not popping. And so it started from there. And then eventually it resonated. I was like, well, who wouldn't want to really have that conversation? like if I really could, my mom was born again Christian. Sometimes she'll be like, God spoke to me, and I'm, whatever. People, whatever. People speak to the Pope, and he said he talked to God. I was like, well, I just took it literally, and then I went from there. And so the whole concept of the song is really just me either being born or being dead. I started off, I say, inside my mother's womb, doomed to return to the tomb, or was it from the dead I was raised all too soon to pay on judgment day? Is this beginning or the ending? And then it keeps going. So the whole point is either I'm dead or I'm inside of my mother and having this communication with the creator before I come out. And it's the interview. God never sleeps. He's the vampire. You know what I'm saying? And this is all through blood, the blood of Christ, the genetic blood of a child from the parents. And so it's me talking to God, and then eventually Satan hops into the conversation. I actually wrote the song originally intending for Exhibit to play the voice of God and Sophia, rest in peace, to play Satan. Just because they're different, stronger voice people than me. But because they didn't do it, I had to become the other people and be the other voices. But that was the original intent of the record.
2 seconds of it. Big Oxford patiently waiting. Now what? 2 seconds of
Armageddon. Armor head. In your direction. The riddle was the answer to the question. Born of the flesh. What is inside my mother's womb? Doomed to return to the tomb. Or was it from the dead I was raised? All too soon to pay on judgment day. Is this beginning or the ending? Died sinning, still winning, still grinning, descending, verdict still pending, born pretending, 300 billion men, women, and children. Deja vu, could be I'm dreaming, but we all ask for divine reason while still breathing and until leaving. Who, what, when, where, how? But most of all, why? Do we live just to die?
The book was written way before the apple got bitten. There is no God but me. Mathematically in division, my decision was all of vengeance. I need not mention infinite dimensions, but the human mind's flaw was limited comprehension. So while you try to climb for the Mars and the stars, your God manifests through the entire universe. From the sun, moon to earth, I created man in my image, and the black man was first. For scientific explanation, yeah, I made man out of dirt.
But how can a man be first when it's a woman that's giving birth?
Definitely make sure you select that link at the top. You know what I'm saying? Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, Eric said it reminded us of a DMX record. I wrote that in 1997, brother.
Oh, you talking about
pre-DMX.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you probably to that bell, that bell. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, but I mean, that's a death sound.
Mm-hmm.
The toll. So, yeah. But it's pre-DMX, like the brother Eric had written, that it reminded him of DMX record.
Oh, isn't it a Mickey song? Mickey? Anyway. So go right ahead. Big Ock been waiting, but he probably seething over there. But go right ahead, Mr. Big Ock.
I'm just over here chilling, man. I'm listening to the conversation. It's been a good build. You know what I'm saying? What's up, Raz?
Peace. How's it going?
Man, it's going all right. I got a question. I want to go to 2014 or whatever. How did you link up with Apollo Brown for the Blasphemy album? And what was your whole mindset like on where were you at, mentally when you recorded that album? Because that's a deep album.
Oh, good looking. I appreciate you. Well, obviously Apollo is just one of them ones, man. I just think production wise, he's just keyed in, man. And I think for every artist he works with, he just knows kind of what's gonna sound good for them. So long story short, when he reached out to me initially about doing a song, I think, the conversation went so well, he hit me back and was like, man, would you be interested in doing a whole project? I was like, yeah, definitely. So it started pretty simple, just phone call. As far as the project, when he started sending beats, because initially he just would send like 3 beats at a time. And the funny thing is he did that twice. And what I didn't tell him is that I had recorded all of them. so he sent 3. I nailed all 3. He's like, well, I'll send you some more. Then he sent 3, and I nailed all 3, the next 3. And then we had another conversation. He's like, are you liking these beats or whatever? I was like, bro, I wrote all 6. And I didn't know what I was writing, but I realized that I was writing this album that I had planned on writing. It was supposed to be my final album. The Blasphemy album is really called How to Kill God. And I came up with that in 2005. And I wrote those songs in prison in 2005. And so the first 6 I wrote on the spot, but I realized I was writing the Blasphemy, How to Kill God album. And then I just grabbed my notebooks and basically did the rest. He came out here and pretty much the rest were already in the notebook.
Yeah, that's fire. I got another question too. Whatever, it's on one of the old Wake Up Show freestyles with Sway and Tech.
Yes, sir.
This one that you did with KRS One and Chino XL.
Oh yeah, I think I remember that. I think I remember the rhyme. Yeah,
it's the one. It's the one you did the Gary Gnu.
Oh, the No Gnu's is good. Right.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? It's like, well, did you have like a chip on your shoulder or something that day? Because you went in, it's like, they like in the studio with you because you. Oh, like, man, he really snapped on this one right here.
Well, to be honest, KRS One is my favorite rapper, and I met him once before that. And so I met him, and I had my little demo tape. I had 3 songs on it. I gave it to him. And I gave one to Saphir the first time I met him, which was like a month after that. Anyway, because I wasn't giving out my demo tape like that. It was just I was kind of giving them to like people I really looked up to as I was in certain shows, and just like I'm gonna be somebody one day. So I wasn't like trying to sell them and giving them out in the streets. I was just giving them to like people I looked up to, hoping they would take a listen and possibly be like, "Bro, you dope." But I never expected him to hit me back. So when I went up there with KRS One, he was flatlining everybody, like while he was like doing, clipping his toenails. That's how it looked.
Like it was nothing to him. You're like, come on.
Bro, he was flatlining niggas. And I was like, he ain't gonna flatline me. So yeah, I put that battery in my back because I was like, he ain't gonna flatline me. And it was a beautiful thing because that changed our relationship from that day on. I went in there with an attitude problem and gunned down. And he was like, oh. And then we started rhyming together. And then he went back. It's documented. He was on Hot 97 like the next week. And he was like, there's some real hip hop. This kid, Rozcaz, he would phone Masterplex, and he shouted me out then. And I was like, I did my job.
Yeah, because you snapped on that. You said I'd taken off my lambskin Mark Buchanan. I was like, this nigga here is going crazy, Joe.
That's the whole energy that I was talking about. This is a one-man sport. I had to go in there. I can't go in and be like, you my idol. I had to go in there like he was the enemy.
I like that mindset.
Yeah, I feel you. Hey, I ain't mad at that.
Big Ike, you got another one, but I'm gonna play it right quick so everybody can hear what they talking about. Here you go.
Yo, here we go. Come on. Now I'm a rap fan who never saw band rock the park in the Bronx, but I still snap skulls in the dark. So can you recognize this shit real when I shove this Ampex 499 up your rectum? I'm ready to bust every bitch nigga's chip. See these floods in January got me looking in the mirror screaming Bloody Mary. Unnecessary representing equal set tripping. Divided by my tennis shoe pimping. Got all them niggas dipping like lifting. Teabags. Son, my stilo is G Kundo. The way of the intercepting fist. Intercepting every subliminal diss. Geographic prejudice against increments of incredulous legislature. Psychologically, I masturbate with the hands of fate and bust nuts on Mother Nature. I'm coming on your landscape. I'm pressing California license plates for niggas in all 50 states. But it's biting me, fighting me, inviting me to rhyme. I can't hold it back. I'm looking for the line, taking off my lambskin Mark Buchanan. Cause I'ma make you see LA like Ed O'Bannon. Nigga, come in peace and brothers can kick it. But you ain't gonna walk my streets when back east you selling wolf tickets. Reciprocate the player hate and bring the bull-ish to you. Rolling through your coast like the green Gary Gnu who said, no gnu's is good gnu's, but niggas is not knowing about the genetic shit that I be flowing. Oh, excuse me, didn't mean to cuss on the station. For the SEC, I still kick inebriations. And anyway, I'm out.
That was fire.
Good looking.
And that Gary Gnu, for the people in the room, it was this show called, I think it was the Great Space Coaster. Yeah, back in the day, and it was this dude had his little newscast. No good news is good news.
News with Gary Gnu.
Yeah, it'd be hilarious every time he come up. Remember when I heard you do that, bro, I was like, this motherfucker here is clowning. Like, they're not fucking with this dude, bro.
And that was a great moment. Like, there's a few great moments I've had, like, where I was meeting one of my, I don't like the word idol, but like people I just hold in high esteem. And that's one of those times, because there's one where I fumbled and I hate myself. And I did it with Jay. I fumbled, bro. I fumbled on the one. That would be later. But when I got with Premier, I had an attitude problem. Not to him, but I had an attitude problem in my head. I had to psych myself up like they already said, fuck me. Said I was whack. Then I go in there and I just gun. Because then I'm in the moment. and I got something to prove, but I'm really focused and centered on myself. So it's just a way for me to psych myself and trick myself. So I did it. I was always, some of my happiest moments is when I did, reach my potential around the person I wanted to show what my potential was. So that Time of KRS-One with Premier, there was only 3 people at the time when I did Golden Child that ever did a one take perfect verse. That was Biggie, Nas, and then me. You know what I'm saying? Out of Premier's mouth, like, yo, check the mic. He played the beat, gun down. And I'm like, did it. Can't be taken from me.
Hell yeah, that's fire. I got one more question. But it's about that song you did with Ahmad and Sophia, Come With It, for the Street Fighter soundtrack. Like, what was the energy like in the studio when y'all did that? All y'all snapped on that joint.
Man, I wish I had a better story for you on that one. Sway and them put that together and picked us all. And I was only there for Saphir's verse. Ahmad had done his before I got there and had left. So I just kind of heard what he did. And like, we would rhyme and freestyle on the radio. So I knew Ahmad had a hit record and a lot of people felt like he wasn't lyrical, but I knew he could freestyle his ass off. So I knew what to expect from him. And I already knew Saphir. Like I said, I gave him the tape. He didn't remember me, but I remembered him. And so when he came in, I knew what to expect too. But then we wrote on the spot, and that was just dope to be able to, like, yo, that's just dope. And then, you know what I'm saying, watching him, like, yo, that's just dope. And I always thank Sway and Tech and them because we were unsigned, relatively unknown. Saphir probably, well, that's not true. I was unsigned and unknown. Ahmad had like a platinum record, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, so, it was pairing talent as opposed to like nowadays, features don't happen because people is dope. People only do features with people they can benefit from. And that's where the magic got lost in hip hop. Like, you don't see people doing records with people just because like that would be ill. I'm a fan, and maybe this person is not as popular as me. People only do songs with people they're popular, or it's some business agenda. I'm so and so, and I'm gonna break this artist, so I'm putting them on the song. But back then it was real genuine, man. I remember Pun I'm meeting him somewhere, and he was just like, "You dope, bro," And I'm like a stupid kid, and I don't even know how to talk. I'm just like, "Man, this nigga's ill." And he's like, "Yo, Raz, like, you I'd do a song with, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, you dope, bro." I'm like, "Man, you Pun, nigga. I done bought them albums, nigga. You fresh." You know what I mean? Like, it was genuine, a respect for the skill set. And I think we lost it, and we got a respect for the followers.
That's a fact. And again, thank y'all again being here. We're not closing. I'm just saying, just a quick reset. Here at Great Lyricists Only podcast, dedicated to my mother, Gloria. Shout out to her.
Shout out to Gloria.
Yeah. So I'm gonna do a quick reset, and then we're gonna get into different questions. But I'm gonna play. Some people don't know your sons, right? I don't know how they wouldn't, but this is just a quick sample of his 2 sons.
Well, it's 4 of them. It's 4 in the group. We can't discount the other.
Oh, yeah. You got Tash. We got Eric Jamal. You know what I'm saying? We got, yeah. I was saying,
like, and Brazzy.
Yes, sir. Check this out.
1, 2, 3, everybody get low. 4, 5, 6, nigga, here comes the coast. 7, 8, 9, and we back on your mind. When I say 10, that means begin.
Hey, yo, we good?
We good!
Made it out the hood, now everybody move to the back of the bus. Cause I'm calling shotgun like Elmer Fudd. So run, Ricky, run if you don't want the slug.
He get no fuck, Raz, him cut raw like sawdust, raw like condom. That bust when hip thrust say, baby, I'm coming.
Bust through the pussy wall like Kool-Aid Man.
The new moon rose high and shined on the coastline. Kings follow like the northern star through the dark skies. Haters gon' say we couldn't do it without a cosign, but my pen moved to rains. This a landslide.
This hip hop we came to spit raw. What y'all do is backwards, helping to win the war. Coast gon' give backwards that push forth in 1, 2, 3, 4.
Truthfully, feel like all y'all weak. No style, no technique. You niggas rhyme with 2 left feet. That's why you ain't snapping on the beat. In the words of T3, don't sound too good, it sound tainted to me. Luckily, I got a good idea. You should study what we do and level up. I guarantee you, we the biggest group you ever seen. Think the Elohim seen me. Kick them off the stage, crushing niggas' dreams. I ain't mean to be that mean, but shit, nah, I mean, they be kidding.
On the mic, Billie Jean. Must think I'm the one. Type of shit, get a nigga pumped. Get me move with some caution. They don't want the rat to Taj Austin. Sometimes trying to be this humble is exhausting. What's a threat to my intellect? That's insulting. I don't fear that. I'm immune to the coffin.
Man, so yeah, please tell a story about as far as your sons and them.
I had sex with their mom.
Oh man.
Oh my god.
Oh man.
And then she was like, "I'm pregnant," and I was like, "Damn, bro." No, let me stop being an idiot. Okay.
Yeah, but as far as like you noticing them for the first time, getting into like ramen, you know what I'm saying? How did you discover that, and how did you help cultivate them to be where they are now?
Yeah, so let me preface this with their mom is Tidra Moses, who, for those that don't know, she's a singer and she's her pen game is crazy. She's a writer. She wrote like Dip It Low for Christina Milian, so she can write. Tidra has her own talent. And she can sing her ass off. So, but she just wasn't. When we met, we were kids. I wasn't even Raz Kaz. I think my friends were calling me Raz, but I hadn't really ran with Battle Cat and went on that journey yet. So we were like really young kids, you know, whatever. And long story short, once our journey, me and their mother split. Well, even before then, they would be with me. We all lived together. So when I'm going to the studio, when she's got to go do whatever she's got to do, I don't really babysit. I just take them niggas with me. If I, you know, whatever. I go to the barbershop, they get a haircut. I go buy some kicks, they get some kicks. I go to the studio, they got to kick it. And there's some amazing stories of them destroying studio equipment and me having to pay for it and being mad when them niggas was little.
I can imagine.
But they grew up around it, and so their Uncle Exhibit, and like I said, Snoop Dogg, and all these people that my label mates, and so they've always they were born in and around the studio. Were born in the studio, not literally, but so they always had. Well, Taj had a natural acumen since I can recall. He always tried to sing, and he had these melodies when he tried to rhyme. So he could hold a note, which I can't hold a note. I'm awful. I just never. My mom is an awful singer. But then my little sister Tiffany Austin, who's a jazz singer, is nice. But that shit jumped over me, jumped over my mama. And then whatever, it hit Taj. So Taj could sing and he could rhyme. He had these timings. So around 7. I would go to the studio because he would want to freestyle. And what I started doing is I would just kind of let them both go in there, let them do a take on whatever I was working on. And then every once in a while, if I ran out of flows, I'd be like, I'm taking that flow. I'll just copy this nigga flow, keeping it a buck. So it was fun. Like he was like the nigga I could buy the flow from that I didn't have to get no credit to.
Thank you.
I was like, I paid you. It doesn't matter. You know, like I bought you McDonald's today. You don't get the publishing. You know what I'm saying? So it was cool. Fast forward, man, to be perfectly honest, by the time they're about 10, she moves to Florida. That's kind of what the whole Coast Contra thing is about. They moved to Coast Contra. They moved to Coast Contra. They moved to Florida, and their dog years are really there, like 10 to 15, 16. And they got taller, and they were supposed to be, Dr. lied to us, said they make 6 feet. You know what I'm saying? They cracked 6 feet. They didn't, but they was all into basketball. And I didn't want no fucking rap kids anyway. This shit is painful. This is not a job that you want for anybody. You know what I'm saying? Everybody is not going to be Lady Gaga and motherfucking Drake. It's just not going to happen. It's just not enough space for that. There's a space for everybody to do okay, but there's a lot more space for people to get fucked over and allegedly diddled. You know what I'm saying? So it's just more tragedy than it is success. And so I didn't want that. What I've been through, my career has been a lot of fuckery, a lot of sometimes just people taking your hard work and flushing it down the toilet for no other reason other than they just are threatened by you or they don't like what you're talking about. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't want that for my children. I wanted an accountant and I wanted a judge. Point being is because in my family, niggas fuck up. I'm one. So I needed somebody to get us off, and I needed somebody to get the dirty money and wash it. That's what I wanted. I wanted an accountant and a judge. And so I thought we were going that way, and then they graduated high school. They were fucking around with music again, but by the time they were about 15. And I figured they'd grow out of it again, because I remember they're just like, I don't care about no rap shit like that. Like, I like listening to music, but I'm on this basketball shit. I'm like, great, do that. You'll go to college. You probably won't make it to the NBA, but niggas then we get you, y'all niggas go to law school. That's the play. But they came back when they graduated high school. They was like, when we come back, we want to, we want to come back to LA. It was like, that's your birthright. You were born here. You should come back anyway. And they came back with a third nigga. And that was Rio Los. And then, so they graduated at 16. They come back at basically 16 and a half. And it's 3 niggas. And I'm like, who is this other nigga? I'm not a good father. I don't want to have to worry about another nigga too, but that's their bestie. I'm like, fuck it. Well, so we rocked out. And I asked them to go to school, like Music Institute. I was like, if you're gonna do this, they was like, we really want to rhyme. This is our calling. And I remember when I told him I wanted to rhyme, and he was pretty dismissive. I mean, we're great now, but my dad was practical, and he's a Marine and a police officer. And I just remember him, not believing in my dream, and that was hurtful. You know what I'm saying? And I didn't want to be that person. And so I supported their dream, which was, we happen to have the same dream. I asked them to go to school. I was like, well, at least, have some security, go, take these college, go to Music Institute, They didn't graduate from the motherfucker, but at least they did that for me. They went, and then, they networked, they learned some technical skill sets. And then off they went. And they met Eric. I think Taj met Eric first. Like, Eric drove out here from fucking Philly just with a dream. Like, you got to give a nigga that kind of credit. Young nigga drive out like, I'm going to LA, I'm a Ron. And they was walking down the street, and I think he heard the nigga rhyming, like freestyling, and they locked in. They've been rocking ever since. So I salute them young dudes, because they love the art form. This whole, this podcast is about having skills, you know what I'm saying? And being a lyricist, and they care about that. And I remember when they first started buzzing a couple of years back, and everybody was like, well, they need to do more radio, or, all these things people start telling you about how you should fit in and be in the box, salute to Dr. Dre. And they just didn't want to be in that box. They like, which is their whole thing. They're contrary to any coast. You got a Colombian nigga that's, darker than all of us. But when he speaks Spanish, he fucked their head up. Then you got the Philly nigga. Then you got 2 LA niggas that's went to high school in Miami. They're contrary to any coast. They are who they are. And they love the skill set. And I'm just really excited and grateful to the community of hip hop for giving them a fair shot. And I'm grateful to them for sticking to their guns about they could have got on some, I'm gonna drill everything and mumble a whole bunch. And it's just like, no, bars matter. And that's all I could ever wish for my kids.
Yeah, definitely they follow through, man, because phenomenal work, man. So I would definitely say y'all gotta check them out, man. Dope, man. Of course, again, their names. You know what I'm saying? I posted it in the chat. You gotta check them out. Costa Contra. Also, I want to speak about their other super group, because you've been in a lot, man. From the Horsemen, the Gutter, the World. You know what I'm saying? Golden State Warriors. I'm like, how do you? I don't know how you do it, man. But I'm gonna play this track right here, and this is one of my joints right here, man. Off the Gutter album. Which, hey, I also copped the shirt, y'all. So y'all better make sure y'all cop some merch. You know what I'm saying? Support your favorite artist, man. That's what y'all gotta do. Support your favorite artist, man. Here you go.
This happy shit, nigga. Fuck y'all. I'm more alien than human, more book smart than street. But I can read instructions and learn to pour the concrete. That's a master mason, no exaggeration. The flamethrower got them looking like cancer patients. Alopecia bars and Will ain't slapping Nathan. Point stick firearm, no vaccination. This activation, why you actively hating? Niggas all cap like new era. John knew better, depth of character, man in my word. So never shit when you sleep, Amber Turd. My kids gone missing, Amber Alert. Your bitch swallowed mine before yours. So you mad at your girl that's eating shepherd's pie in the animal herd. So you mad at the world, a cipher with flat earthers while we sat on the curb. Fanatical nerds mixing mathematics with cannabis serve. Raw National Geographic terms, gangster slang and graphic novels. I'm like, what if Kevin Feige popped hollows and shot prep beside the water tequila bottles?
Just go online right now and go get that right quick. Make sure you, if you was a physical copy, purchase that ASAP. The link is at the top of Bandcamp. You know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna ask you about
that record. Fire too. I love that record.
Absolutely, man. And I would say when it comes to this group, you know what I'm saying, with RJ and Havoc, y'all make Gutter, right? So what was the concept and how did y'all come together? Like, you know, that whole, man, just that's a phenomenal group right there.
Oh man, thanks, man. You know, me and Hav been, you know, we've been bros since, you know, shit, back day, man. You know, that actually on Solo Nights, Mobb Deep is the only group I shout out. Like I say, favorite song is Mobb Deep's Hit It From the Back. And so, and then we would go on to get to know each other and be homeboys and, you know, obviously losing Prodigy. I ended up running into Havoc before COVID. We were in Dallas. He was performing, I was hosting. And we were drinking and thinking and having a conversation. And I kind of posed this idea about just being a fan. I wanted I was like, I want a Mobb Deep album. And I know we can't really quite have a Mobb Deep album at this particular second. And you'll never be able to replace Prodigy. I was like, but just with all your beats and how do you do that? So we had that discussion. And then later on, fast forward years, we got the same management again, which is perfect management. Storm, my nigga Storm. And so Storm was like, yo, Have got this idea. And, you know, why don't we, like, you and him? I was like, well, anything with just P by itself, I mean, with Have and one other person is gonna sound like we're trying to replace Mobb Deep. That ain't never gonna happen. You can't even compare it. I was like, well, it'd be dope if we had two MCs. I'm a West Coast MC. Sorry, Dr. Dre. But I was like, we should get somebody more East Coast. You know what I'm saying? So that'll balance it out a little bit. And then we can, you know, we can do Have's production with two guys. Have can rhyme when he decides to, but for the most part, we'll handle the MC and let Have be the producer. And so that's really how I was born. You know, reached out to Payne. Payne was RJ Payne, and he was game to do it. And we always wanted to like have like a revolving other MC. So like, you know, this iteration is me and Payne. The next Gutter project could be me and, you know, whatever, Jadakiss, you know, whoever that person is. So God willing, we can continue to do that and have these iterations of Gutter. You know, essentially everybody on that album is Gutter. So, you know, Method Man, Raekwon,
Freeway,
Twista, Freeway, Twista, Corrupt. You know, Yeah. Well, Quan is a hilarious comedian. He's the Watch Homie Quan. Salute to him. So yeah, we kind of want to just create an avenue, and it's just a way to have a coalition of like-minded homies. And so, Fame, MOP. You know what I'm saying? So that was the goal, just to create some coalition, some unification, and have a vehicle, a sonic vehicle for that. So that's what Gutter is.
So King Crooked. So you trying to tell me? So each few years we're gonna get like a Marvel-esque type of
Avengers Assemble.
Yeah, that's so you said
that's the goal. That is the goal. That's what the initial plan was. And like I even got the new, like we always want to keep the cover the same and then maybe change the color scheme. You know, this time we went with teal. And like if you guys get a chance, please, you know, check out the first single is Roll Call, featuring Sway from MTV or, you know, whatever, Shade 45, Sway, Method Man, Fame, Ice-T plays the principal, there's some other great cameos up in there. But yeah, we kind of did the whole collegiate thing. So it's, you know, we're in some nebulous gutter college and we all have the same jackets and we'll just kind of change the color. But yeah, that's the goal, man, just to have a vehicle of unification and really like a ode to Mobb Deep, keeping them kind of, just that kind of production, because you can never duplicate it. We can just honor it and do our own, our own gutter shit with some real, with official Havoc production. That's the lesson, is having Havoc give us the framework, give us the sonic soundscape, and then we paint the details up in there.
I got like half a question, and then it's going right to Melissa. So remember when you said about going into the booth and you seen say Kara West one over there doing this thing? You say I gotta literally in a way kind of crush them. So when you're in the room with everybody else, you're friendly, you're friends of Havoc, Method Man, RJ Payne. Are you doing the same thing, or you say, what, I'm gonna kind of tame it down a little bit? Cause these my boys. I ain't trying,
That's a good question. I used to, and this is not to take away from anybody's talent set. If I used to do records with Royce and say, you know what, like I'd do the verse, he'd ask me to do a record, I'd lay the verse, and then I'd be like, you know what I didn't do, right? Like, okay, I went with the melody. What you should do is counter melody. Like, there's a million ways to attack a record, right? And so 9 times out of 10, the person that goes first is already, which is why we used to just make it, especially with the Horseman stuff. You couldn't change nothing. You go in, you write, you lay it, that's it. You live with it. Because anybody can start listening and being like, oh shit, I like what he did there. I can do that times 3. And then you look like you killed it, right? And so, a lot of times when I'm with my bros in the studio, I don't feel like these are people who sometimes it's for the good of the song. Like, say, for instance, if I'm rapping with somebody and they do a whole bunch of double timing, I don't know if that's gonna sound good if we both like like fuck, bro. So somebody's got to have the push and pull of the record. So I will opt into not double timing if the other person is, or I'll only do it for a little bit for the sake of making the song listenable. And so, no, I to be perfectly honest with you, I don't go to destroy my friends. I want the fuck it. I'll be honest. I want to go with people that didn't rap with me yet. Because now at this point, I feel like we may be personable, but we ain't friends. So I want to destroy people that y'all look up to.
Hey, that's why I like that. I love competition, man. So absolutely, like I do on Clubhouse. I'm trying to crush all these bum. I ain't gonna curse, but that's my whole job. I'm trying to be better than everybody here. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I don't care. I ain't friendly.
I poised this a long time ago. Whoever got their favorites, whatever. Every individual may have their favorites. The collective industry may have their favorites, who they put on the pedestal, who they gave the opportunity for the Sprite commercial and all that. But my whole thing is, fuck it. Let's do it like the Olympics every 4 years. And the proceeds go to a charity. But we good in there. The whole shit is you go in, you sign up, and there is no sidekick, there is no ghostwriter, no duppy. There is a nigga, and the crowd, you get a pad that pops up that gives you 4 or 5 topics. You can write as long as you want, and you got 1 to 2 hours. You got an hour to write and an hour to track. And let's see who the best is. Since we all saying these niggas is the best, let's find out.
Yeah. I don't think, you know what it is? I don't think their record label's gonna allow them to do that. They're like, nah, look here, sir.
No, I'm just a firm writer. I'm a firm, and you can't hear nobody else shit. You just in there, and we can film it. And have everybody, you can be log in to whoever. I don't want to name one particular name. I don't give a fuck. MC Hammer, whoever you got, nigga, and you can look at them, and all the shits come up. So now you got, what was the topics? The world voted. The topic is pink vaginas, Wally World, whatever. 5 things. Integrate those and go and bars be crazy. You got to go, and let's figure out who that nigga is. Cause I just feel like I'm gonna kill most of these niggas y'all think is them niggas. Cause them niggas be having 5 niggas around them.
Maybe even 10. You're right. Let's see here. So Miss Melissa, go right ahead with your question.
Okay, so my question is about legacy. I am also a parent of twins. I have twin girls. They're 27. So shout out to the twin parent community because that ain't. But I heard you have a conversation with someone about where you come from. Your father being a police officer, your father also being in the military. Much respect and appreciation for his service.
Thank you.
But I also heard you say he's an asshole. So, and I've also heard you say, so you're an asshole. And so
Yes.
I heard you say, so you don't even know if your kids like you. And I think when you said that, I was like, you know what? That's about right. I feel like I have now become one of my kids' little but not little friends. And so even but they're still absorbing things that I didn't even know they were paying attention to. So my question is, do you feel like you're fulfilling doing the different thing that you wanted to do from what your father passed on to you? Do you feel like you're making that change and presenting a different legacy for your children going forward? What do you want them to be?
I thank you for that question. That's a really, really, that's one of those really hard questions as a parent. My Raz, he's the eldest by fucking 8 seconds because he came out first. But he is my namesake. That was our agreement. First one out, me. Um, but he is very much, very, very much, my nice side. But anyway, he called me earlier today. We had a prolonged conversation. He was just checking in on me about, he knew, Sophia passed away. He was like, I didn't want to bother. He's very much like me. But both of them are. Taj is too. But he has some of teacher's tendencies. Anyway, to answer that, I can't. Who am I to say what I am to those people, right? Like I don't, as a parent, there's certain things I can never tell them. There's certain things that I will never be able to tell them about the past or how they interpret, situations because it would seem like I'm blaming somebody else or whatever. So I just know that I figured, but one time I was sad and I called my father and he said some shit to me. And I didn't like my father. My father left when I was 12 and I threw a party, basically. And my mom was crying and my sisters were crying and I was the most happiest guy ever. And because it allowed me to become who I wanted to be, my man, instead of having this other dude kind of crowd and tell me rap ain't shit and whatever, you know what I'm saying? And then we made our peace and really, and really, like I found, and then like when I was 19, I flew in from Europe and I called my father, and and everything was good. I had a hot chick in a hot car, and I stopped at LAX to buy some gas, and I broke down crying. I was like, I'm a worse father than you. I remember I called my father, and I just felt like I didn't have it together. And now fast forward, uh, my sons are 26. But my sons, they tend to call me and say, "Oh, we are pretty one track mind. It's not like you don't give a fuck because you be focused on reading this book. It's just who we are as people." I'm like, "Yeah, you're starting to get it, but I don't think I did anything other than the one thing I didn't do that my parents did was say because I said so. That's the only improvement I think I made. I think my parents did the best they could. There's no manual. Life's a pie graph, and if you have kids, then you've already cut 30% of what you can do on some other shit off. And it's fact. It's just reality. And so whether that's male or female, that some of your mortality is gone and some of your selfishness has to dissipate because you got these people that depend on you, whether it's one or buy one, get one free. Nigga, you signed on for a new job for a long time. It's a lifetime job. I'm still calling my mama when I need something. Let's keep it a buck. That's what we do as humans. We're like, yo, I'm sad or the check didn't come. I might need you to float me $50, mama. You know what I'm saying? So, that's just who we are. But it's that reward is a beautiful thing. And again, we just don't know what they're going to say. I know some people. I feel like parents love them, give them what they need. Maybe not everything they want, and then that kid turns into an asshole or is unappreciative. And then there's some kids that have a lot less, and they're just wonderful people and adjusted. And their perception of the parent is, I saw your struggle. I feel like my kids have seen our struggle. So it helped course correct them. They're not young parents. That was a course correction.
I love that answer. That's what's up. I love that. Shout out to your tribe and your community. So I was listening to a concept that you were talking about, all still within the same circle, about looking like a suspect, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when you throw yourself together, obviously that is not something that's in your head. You still adopted your style. You still went with what made you feel good. So when you put your clothes on, what's on your brain? Like, how do you put your style together? How did that develop and stick for you?
Oh, thanks. I dress how I feel. Literally colors. I don't, maybe I'm strange. Like, I'm not gonna lie. I have friends that have called me the diva dude. Like, you a diva dude. I'm like, bro, I just be wanting to wear what I feel like wearing. You know what I'm saying? I do. Like, today is a beanie day. Today is with a bubble jacket, or today is, whatever. So
Cardigan.
yeah, like it's cardigan day, but in rap, I've really channeled. I used to get made fun of, not teased, like to the point where like they ran me out of town. But I went to school in Watts and grew up in Watts up until 8th grade, and then I started, hip hop is around, and I'm starting to wear clothes that don't really fit into what the normal outfit for most of my friends were. And so I remember I purposely bought. I knew I was an idiot early on. I remember I bought. It's like Joker, like high water suspender, pinstripe, high water little crazy pants. They didn't make any sense. I don't know why I bought them, and I bought them in red. And I lived in the Crip neighborhood. I don't know. I don't know why I did that. I just was like, it'll stand out. And I remember I went and I could have, I probably, let's just say I was in the 7th grade, 8th grade. And I remember I went and I was over there for the summer and I was wearing these pants and they just looked at me shaking their head. There's people my age, some people a little bit older, all homies. They like, what are you doing? And I remember I was like, but then I remember the girl I liked, she was like, I like those. Those look cute. And that was my answer. I was like, she likes it.
Period.
I was like, I like it and she likes it. So I don't care what you fucking think. And that kind of transitioned into why I doubled down even in hip hop when it's like, I knew what would sell. Trust me. I got a record deal. I knew if I got to put on the khaki suit and Crip walk down, I'd be popping. Me and the homies grew up down the street and it was hard. And then it came out. I went to juvenile hall. I did all that shit. I'm behind the jail cell and solo. I'm in a jail cell on solo nights. I just didn't have that narrative. I didn't tell you it's cool here and we and the homies and what we do. I was like, man, this shit's fucked up. Don't be here. You know what I mean? That was I like the more of the Scarface. Never seen a man cry till a man died. Not to killed all the niggas. Then I ate the 40 ounce. Like, come on, my bro. You making this shit like it's fun. It ain't. It ain't fun to not see your peoples or to do fucked up shit. It's fucked up if you don't get caught, but it sucks even more when you get caught because then you got to sit there and marinate and stew in your own juices that you've been fucking up. And then you hurt people and your mom is sad and then your girlfriend leaves you. All that shit happens because you was an asshole. You was a dummy. And so I wanted to write about that part of it, that this shit sucked. And well, I'm sorry. Let me tie that back in. So part of why I dressed and delivered why I delivered is because it's purposeful. I like wearing my V-necks. Of course, when I'm sitting and watching, I'm going to the club with my friends who may be goons or whatever, and I'm the nigga in the fucking V-neck, I stick out anyway. It's a win. Because first thing the girl's going to ask is, why is he with them? Because he don't even fit into that box. But they seem to treat him with dignity and respect, so he must be cool.
Mm-hmm.
I remember that just with girls in LA. They'd be like, yeah, I would never think you act the way you do. I was like, don't let the outfit fool you. I'm an idiot. I'm a fucked up nigga from Watts. Don't get it fucked up. I'm gonna call you a bee before everybody else do because I'm mean. Or I'm gonna punch this nigga in his mouth because that's who I am. Don't let the outfit trick you. But it's really good with the police. For real. I used to tell my friends that too. I was like, you dress like pull me over and get mad when you get pulled over. You got the rims on your car, you're playing your music for everybody on the freeway, and then you got your braids and your neck tattoo. No license, no nothing, a gun in your car, and then you complain when you get pulled over. I was like, and that doesn't happen to me. You know why? Because I don't let them see me coming a mile away. I did a bet with my friends once. I took all my friends' guns, including mine. I put it in my trunk, and I said, "We're gonna drive to the club, and if I get pulled over with your guns, I won't say nothing. I promise to God I did this. I only did it once because it was dumb, but I did it as an experiment." I said, "Give me your burners." They got pulled over. At least one of them did. And me, I remember the police got behind my car, and then he drove to the side. He saw me, and clean cut. And I had the stupid American flag on the trunk, on the antenna. And then he waved, and I looked like a good one. And I kept it pushing. Then we got to the club, and I gave everybody their burners back and said, "That's the difference. You look like come get me, and I look like never could do it. Don't let them see you coming all the time. We got to be lepers out here."
I just want to say thank you once again, Razcast, for being here with us tonight. You've been performing your album, your debut album, Soul on Ice, dropped over 25 years ago. So you've been performing, the most controversial song to come off of that, Nature of the Threat.
Yes.
Do you think, in your own opinion, like, back then when you released it, was it ahead of its time then? And is it more received now that we're in an era of like woke shea butter Twitter and stuff? Like, is it more received and appreciated now than it ever was in the late 90s?
I think that somebody else posted it and kind of did like a video edit years ago, but and it keeps gaining views. Like, people discover that record now. Obviously probably a lot younger people, and they're like, "Yo, this is brilliant. Who the hell is this dude?" or whatever. I think Soul on Ice rings truer today than it did then. First of all, I think that record, I don't normally like go re-listen to myself. I kind of make it because it's in my heart and it's in my spirit, and I get my truths out and I kind of move on. And hopefully it creates a dialogue. I never expected people to blindly follow and believe what I have to say. I just always thought people would read. I'd encourage people to go learn. I think the album's truer now. I think if I would have shot a video for that record then, or even now, we're probably going to shoot a retro video for that record now. I just think the record, because most of there's a thesis, which is the only opinion, and the rest is just history. So I stand behind the record. I think that the record garners the respect, or at least it creates a dialogue, whether you hate it. There's some people that just hate me because of that song. But then I can go to London. I just came back, and those, unfortunately, those people read. So it'd be the white people, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, yo. And then I've had, people that, teachers, high school teachers and college teachers that say, I use this in my classes. Like, this is education. I'm grateful that I did it. I wrote it for myself to kind of understand all this information I was getting. And I'm glad that it, to this day, that it could stand on its own feet. But I think the whole album can. And I also think it was my undoing. They didn't want me to put that on there. I didn't even write it to put it on the first album. I was writing it. I was going to put it. I figured it was going to kill my career, so I was going to do it on my second album. But at the time, I was just like, let me just demo it out, and at least I have it, so I don't lose the notebook, because it took a lot of research to do it. And then, yeah, I think then my mom heard it, and my mom was like, it's important, and you need to just put this out now. And then she probably was wrong, and I've told her that sometimes. Like, lady, because it was on my demo. That's part of my demo. So I got signed with that record being on there. And I was like, yeah, maybe you shouldn't. So I probably shouldn't have signed to people that didn't want me saying the things that I was going to say, because eventually those same people were like, why don't you put on a khaki suit? And I was signed to the same label as Jay-Z, Ice Cube, Master P, Boot Camp Click, and West Side Connection and all that. And honestly, you can see the people who had success. It wasn't Boot Camp Click and Brasscast.
And it's never too late. It is never too late to release a video for that. If we waited 25 years for Juvenile to give us, a video for 400 Degrees, we definitely can wait and are waiting for you to give us a video for Nature of the Threat. I really think it will be well received in this climate.
But I'm gonna play a few seconds of it for the people that haven't heard it before.
Let freedom ring with a buckshot, but not just yet. First, we need to truly understand the nature of the threat. And a pale man walks in the threshold of darkness. Roughly 20,000 years ago, the first humans evolved with the phenotypical trait, genetic recessive, blue eyes, blonde hair, and white skin. Albinism apparently was a sin to the original man, African, so the mutants traveled north of the equator. Go Europeans later, the first race haters. So here's the devil's alpha to the beta. Cause history's best qualified to teach one. Quoting German philosopher Schopenhauer, every white man is a faded or a bleached one. Migration created further mutation, genetic drifts, evolution through recombination, adaptation to the climate. As the Caucasus mountain man reverted to that of a primate, savage Neanderthals until the late Paleolithic age. That's when the black Grimaldi man came with the symbol of the dragon, fire and art. J.K. paintings in France and Spain to the Venus of Willendorf. Around 2000 BC, southern Russians migrating small units. Those who traveled west populated Europe. Those who went east settled in Iran, known as Aryans. 1500 BC, some crossed the Khyber Pass into India and created Hinduism, the first caste system, the origins of racism. A white dot on the forehead meant to leap. The black dot defeat, untrustable, untouchables. They wrote the Holy Vedas in Sanskrit. That's the language that created Greek, German, Latin, and English. Now the Minoans around 2000 BC starts on the island of Crete in the Aegean Sea. The Greek culture begins Western civilization, but Western civilization means white domination.
How old were you when you made that song?
Learned from Egypt and Greece.
Everything's happening around 16. Me and a brother, we started getting knowledge of self in the 9th grade. 9th grade, I was a class clown. I couldn't see. I didn't wear glasses. I'm sorry that everything has to be these long stories, but it just kind of is. So I had a history class in 9th grade. The teacher asked me to, well, the class had to do a report on Christmas. We had Encyclopedia Britannicas at the house. I grabbed the Christmas one, and at the end it said, "See Pagan Holidays." Went to my mother and I said, hey, I go to her and I say, hey, why is this pagan on here for Christmas? Instead of shutting me down, my mother said, you got to read for yourself. And that changed everything. And that's the start. So from there, I started reading and learning and unlearning the stuff they had puppet taught us. And I had to start learning truth. And then I went, when I graduated high school, I knew I was already doing music. I wasn't gonna go to college. But I just took junior college classes. I never declared a major because that wasn't my thing. I was like, I'm just gonna take all the anthropology and all the history classes and all that. That was my focus. So I would take 3 or 4 of them in one semester. One quarter, and that's what I did. And while also stepping in and studying Judaism, studying Islam. Whatever. And so, by then I had accumulated so many books from school, from the university. I had accumulated. I still had my Encyclopedia Britannicas. I also had I hate calling it all that black knowledge books. I don't want no black knowledge. I just want facts. I want information. I don't deal with black facts and all that shit. Corny to me. I just want the fucking truth. I did whatever that truth is. Give me that. Let me process that. That's the problem with most people is they want shit to make them feel better as opposed to the fucking truth. And so that's what I did. And I accumulated, but everything was adding up for the most part. And that's how I wrote Nature of the Threat. I once had the footnotes to it and I lost that in the process, which is good because it's good that I recorded Nature of the Threat or I would have lost it. I've lost some incredible things that I've written sometimes just because my process of life is so turbulent. And notebooks and, leave shit and whatever. So I'm grateful that I got it done. And like I said, then I gave it to my mother. I let my mother hear it. She cried and she was like, you need to let the world hear this. And then, and my whole thing was like, man, let me just start being a regular person before I start letting them know what I really think. Because my whole thing was, maybe second or third album. So then it'll be too late and I can kind of ride on out and hopefully I'll be wealthy by then. But everything happens how it's supposed to at this point, and I'm grateful that that it was able to come out because I may have lost that notebook or something could have happened. So Yeah, I mean, listening to it now, yeah, I stand behind it. Just imagine, I just came back from the UK and imagine having to do that song in front of like 150 just straight British people. But that's what they want to hear. And I'm like, and then the people that don't know, and I'm like, hey, man, convert, bro. Like, hey, man, I'm sorry if you feel a little some kind of way, but this is kind of what happened, man. So, and I've had to be on Vlad or whoever, and people, people get defensive when they don't hear the narrative they want to hear. And I think ultimately, the only thing that's gonna solve any problem is the truth. That's like you going, to get your car fixed, but it's something wrong with your engine, but I just fucking changed your tires. I still didn't fix it. It may make you feel better because I gave you some brand new, crispy, shiny tires, but it didn't fix the problem.
All right, so I know you got to go soon, but
I just have a statement. I just want to let him know this. This past Monday, we had the pleasure of interviewing the battle rapper O Solo out of Harlem. And it's so crazy that because I didn't know at first that you and Tidra Moses had kids together, but he had mentioned that he had wanted to sample one of her songs and remix it and flip it. So, I'm just throwing it out there. You just throwing it out there to see if we can make those dots connect. But he definitely mentioned that, and we let him know that we were going to be interviewing you today. So
this is hip hop. He ain't got to get her permission per se. We sample. That's what this is. This is hip hop. I'm a flip it because I like it. So I feel like if it spoke to him, he should rock and roll.
Definitely, but just let Tidra know that she is still admired out here. We know her pen is fire, and y'all whole family legacy. We just appreciate everything that y'all have given to us for us to take forward.
Hey, this is Dr. Dre. I'd like to ask Raz a question.
Yes, sir.
2025 in a heartbeat. Who is Ras Kass 2025?
Good question. Restructuring. I don't have a talent problem. I've always had a marketing problem. So the job is to make sure I can drive the awareness about my talent and to create music that is proportionate to my expectations. To make some of the dopest hip hop music that I've ever made in my life, which I think I am. My pen is sharp. Just said, oh man, Lord Finesse said to me, he said, rappers don't tear their Achilles. I was like, bar. I gotta give him that credit. So it's not like we get damaged, like, as a football or basketball or whatever, or Tyson. Like those people, that's physical wear and tear. This is the mind. So as long as the mind is sharp, I should be growing. This is another 10,000 hours. So my master, I got another year of being a master, my 10,000 hours. So to answer that, big bro, is to showcase and to weaponize this next 10,000 hours.
Excellent.
Thank you for dropping so many gems today, Dr. Dre. Just thank you. I just appreciate you for just, your contributions, period, to this culture. I mean, just a lot of what you said. Like, I didn't even really think about the fact about, that New York, I knew Rob McDaniels, and it's so geographically New York, and I understand his legacy and his impact, but your impact directly to me as a kid in LA, and because it was cable, that's crazy. I never even thought about that. So just appreciate you.
I appreciate. Thank you. And again, sharing is caring. What can I say?
Yes, sir.
I gotta link y'all up, man. You know what I'm saying? Link that up, man. Yeah. Rebel has a question. Rebel.
Yo, greetings to the panel. Much love to the elder Dr. Dre, and much love to Ras Kass. I'm an artist out of Sacramento, California, Ras. I've been listening to you, man, for 20 years, bro. Definitely appreciate your pen and your contribution to the art form. Through the years, man, I've always known you to speak on political situations or just politics. So my question to you, you being a well-astute lyricist and an elder in the game with a lot of experience, going to 2025 and we see the direction that the country is going politically with this dude in office known as Trump. Will we expect you and a few of the other brothers who you rock with in the booth to comment or do some social commentary as far as music wise?
I am. I mean, the short version of that is I am. But again, Nature the Threat addresses this stuff. That's why I said my music, it's my songs ring truer. The Apollo Brown, like we've been talking about this. There at some point, there's some rappers that doubled down on that particular dude. You know what I'm saying? I told you so. I hate to fucking say it that way, but y'all collectively when I think about the Moses and them being in the wilderness, and meanwhile they over there worshiping the golden calf. That's niggas, bro. So what the fuck else can I tell niggas? That's how I feel. Like, what the fuck? Y'all like everybody but me anyway. You like everybody that led you to death and destruction. Why? It ain't my job no more. I think a lot of us gotta burn for niggas to figure it out. So I hate to say it that way, but that's truly where my heart is. I'm resigned. I should be making party records for 2025 because niggas is dumb. And why the fuck should I keep wasting my breath? You could go buy my first album and understand what we up against.
Most def, man. I respect your answer, man. Appreciate it, man. Most def. I do agree with you 100%.
Thank you. Appreciate you, brother.
Yes, sir.
Again, thank you for being here at a Great Lyricist Only podcast. Also, make sure that you go play I don't want to curse, the expletive out of the newest EP he just dropped, which is Walkabout West Side. He just dropped that, you know what I'm saying? So make sure y'all play that right there.
Enjoy, please.
But again, thank you all for being here again at the Great Lyricist Only podcast, dedicated to folks again like Razzcast. You know what I'm saying? Thank you so much. I'm gonna just close the room out. Much blessings and prosperity to everyone. Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you, Dave.
We've got it down to a fine art between us now.
And again, thank you so much for being here at a Great Lyricist Only podcast.
Shout out to my mother Gloria.
God bless you all.